Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Afro diaspora. I am Makira Daniels. Thank you for taking your valuable time to watch my video. I want to express my gratitude and a huge thanks to all my new subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful people, Afro diaspora. This video is about the indigenous people of Suriname. The first video in the story of Suriname. The reason for this? I want to commemorate a significant historical event, the emancipation of the Dutch colony, marked 160 years ago on paper. In 1863, the Dutch signed a treaty marking the official end of slavery in Suriname. However, it's important to note that despite this agreement, slave labor persisted for another 10 years. The planters who had invested so heavily in enslaving individuals were reluctant to relinquish their power and wealth. They continued to exploit the labor force to clear their debts. It wasn't until 1873 that the enslaved people of Suriname were genuinely free. We celebrate this momentous occasion as Keti Koti, which means the chains are broken in the Surinamese Creole language. Finally, the shackles of slavery were lifted and individuals could reclaim their autonomy and dignity. Let us take a moment to reflect on the struggles and resilience of those who endured the horrors of slavery. Their strength and determination paved the way for future generations. In the 15th century, European fortune seekers fell under the spell of mythical treasures. When these so-called world explorers heard about the golden lake of Eldorado, a paradise that belonged to a native king. This king sat on a golden throne and bathed every morning in the lake of gold. Not only Columbus but also the Spaniard Alonso de Ojeda and his crew sailed their ship to South America for a treasure hunt. Eldorado remained hidden. What greeted them was the breathtaking landscape of Suriname, which is part of the Amazon. Suriname had little value for the Spaniards. Gold is what they longed for, a lot of gold. The Spaniards sailed on to other parts of South America, bringing chaos wherever they set foot. However, England counted her luck and followed in the footsteps of the Spanish. Perhaps they were among the lucky finders, and you know what they say, finders, keepers, because that land of South America belonged to no one. While Walter Raleigh searched for the Golden Lake and other valuable treasures, the Dutch launched a daring offensive and set their sights on Suriname despite resisting Spanish rule domestically. You see, the Dutch were under the thumb of Spanish domination, but I guess being oppressed is a good enough reason to oppress others. Human beings are complex creatures, aren't we? A trail of blood and destruction fell upon the natives of Suriname, caught between the war of two European troops and enslaved at the same time. The fate of the indigenous people seems grim. The Dutch and England ignited a fierce rivalry. The Dutch Republic was a small but powerful force in maritime affairs and possessed a thriving trading empire that challenged English dominance in world trade. English merchants, feeling the pressure of the Dutch stranglehold on business, saw them as formidable opponents and aroused the desire to undermine their economic prowess. How peaceful things were in Europe at that time. Let's slaughter each other, and in the meantime, while we do, let's rob every continent empty. Sensing the threat, England swiftly assembled counterattack by Colonel Richard Nichols. Their objective was to cripple the Dutch forces and restore their dominance. The year was 1664, and the stage was set for a pivotal clash. They stormed the Dutch settlement known as New Amsterdam, and after victory they christened New Amsterdam, New York, a symbolic gesture in honor of the Duke of York, who would eventually ascend to the throne as King James II. The war did not end without repercussions for both sides on the other side of the continent. After the dust settled and negotiations ensued, the Dutch retained possession of Suriname, the prize target of their initial offensive. Suriname was a resource-rich territory. The Dutch asserted claims of privilege over the indigenous population dwelling on its soil. This battleground held the tumultuous history of South America at its core. In these untamed lands, the indigenous people reveled in their freedom. Yes, they had quarrels and they fought among each other, but don't we all? Until then, they were untouched by oppression of outside forces. Their existence shattered as the noise of conflict filled the air. Trapped in competing nations, their ancestral homelands became a brutal battleground. Violence over the soil their ancestors had nurtured for generations. No continent was safe when European kings and queens discovered the power of weapons. Africa and the Americas were at their mercy. The Dutch Empire knew the wealth they would gain by exploiting Suriname. As their unwavering determination unfolded, a chilling revelation emerged. The treasure they unearthed in this newfound world were worth sacrificing lives for. They unleashed death upon the thousands of indigenous people, while desperately seeking riches beyond their borders. Conquest became their sole path to unbelievable wealth, the ultimate goal they coveted. For painful decades, they enslaved the indigenous tribes, inflicted diseases upon these unsuspecting people, causing immeasurable suffering. Their malevolence knew no bounds. Enslavement, warfare, the existence of the natives hung by a fragile thread. But a glimmer of hope emerged. A peace pact formed between the Dutch and the indigenous tribes. Despite enduring years of suffering, the indigenous people remained undeterred in their resistance against the cruel destiny of enslavement. Among the courageous warriors who rose to challenge this oppressive fate was Kaikousi, a prominent leader from the Caribbean tribe. Several other chiefs joined him, including a Maroon of African descent named Ganimet, whose story intertwined with Bartolomeo de las Casas, a priest burdened with a guilty conscience, who had once been involved in the enslavement of indigenous people, experienced a profound change of heart regarding the treatment of the natives. According to Las Casas, Africans had an immense strength for labor-intensive tasks. He began to advocate for the idea that Africa was the rightful source of individuals destined for labor. Consequently, Ganimet found himself enslaved and transported to Suriname. However, Ganimet's resilience and yearning for freedom led him to escape the plantation where he was held captive. His path crossed with Kaikousi and they allied against the Dutch colonizers. United in their struggle for liberation, they waged a formidable resistance, ultimately forcing the Dutch to come to the negotiation table and establish a peace treaty. This unique alliance between Kaikousi's indigenous culture and Ganimet's African heritage bridged two continents driven by the shared experience of oppression. The African continent became a marketplace where human lives were bought and sold for the gruesome task of slave labor, forging a connection that bound the fates of these two cultures. Despite the tragic circumstances that brought them together, the relationship between Kaikousi's people and Ganimet's African community continued. Their intertwined histories served as a poignant reminder of the enduring consequences of colonization and the resilience of those who resisted and kept fighting after the peace treatment that held little value. Today, it is visible that the devastating impacts of disease, war, and enslavement brought upon by colonization emerged as the primary cause of the extinction of the 9 million indigenous population residing in the Amazon. However, resilient tribes continue to persevere in their fight for recognition and the ownership of their cultural heritage, humanity, and ancestral lands. Beautiful people, Afro diaspora, as we commemorate this significant milestone, let us honor the memory of those who fought for freedom and recognize the ongoing struggles faced by the Afro diaspora, but also of the indigenous people and everybody who has suffered under colonization. Together, we can continue to break down barriers, educate others, and promote a world where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. I mean everyone, black, white, everybody. Thank you again for joining me in this journey of remembrance and celebration. Your support means the world to me. Together we can create a brighter future. Until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So we have to keep telling our stories. Until the next video.